Alright, so welcome everyone. This is John with You Do It. In this video I'm going to show you how to convert a logo that's a JPEG or a PNG or bitmap file into an SVG that can then be imported into Fusion 360, converted into a model, and that model can then be exported into what's called an STL file and sliced with the purpose of being 3D printed. And because this is a two-color logo, I even go into how to manage that with a 3D printer that only has one extruder. So I have Adobe Illustrator here, and I have this file of Smart Passive Income. Smart Passive Income is it's run by Pat Flynn, who is a influencer. He is a entrepreneur who has an awesome story where he was laid off. That for most of us, we wouldn't think that that is an awesome story, but in his case it was, because it freed up his time to explore other things, so much so that when his former employer, or he had another opportunity to do the same work, asked him to go back into the field that he was in, he actually said no, because he was making way more money in doing online marketing. And the story about Pat Flynn and how it relates to me is in 2009, 2010, I started following him because I wanted to make additional income passively. So I created a website, I had a blog, I started putting posts on there, and I applied for Amazon affiliate. That didn't go so well. I got declined. I added some more posts, and eventually got to the point where I was frustrated and I stopped, which I just came up with a series of excuses in retrospect. So this is really a tribute to Pat for helping me, inspire me. Even though I stopped, I picked it up again. And through his help and through other creators like Roberto Blake, they really motivated me to get where I'm at now on YouTube and social media. So this is an image that I captured from an event website where Pat Flynn held an event for Smart Passive Income. There was a meetup in Philly that just happened last night. And what I need to do is I need to convert this into what's called an SVG file. So it's right now, this is a JPEG that was imported into Adobe Illustrator. And if you know, Adobe Illustrator is vector based. So we need to do what's called a live trace. So within this object menu, once this graphic is selected, we can do image trace and choose make and expand. And that traces the image, and since it was a two-color image, it was rather easy for doing that. And then there are various components in here, and this is, let's see if we can ungroup again. Let's just select that. Yeah, okay, so we have two components here that I would like to separate out. So the first one is this. This is the background. And you'll see why I want to do this later. So let's select the background together with these elements. And now I can drag them out of the way. And then you'll see that there's also that too. So I'm going to save this. We will save as, and this will be Smart Passive Income Keychain Rev 2, and it's a Illustrator file. So now I have that locked in, but I'm also going to save this as an SVG file, which is a standard file for vector graphics, and it's a Keychain Rev 2 file. SVG, you do not want to select the SVG-Z file. We do not want the compressed version, and we hit OK, and sure, the defaults are fine. Now we go into Fusion 360. We create a new project, and we'll choose Sketch. And we'll hit this plus button here that'll create a new sketch. And it's this plane here that I want to select. And the reason why I want to select this plane is because it is the XY plane. And I'm going to perform my drawing in this plane so that when I import it into my slicer and ultimately 3D print it, I do not have to do any additional rotation around it. It makes it real easy. So now you notice I'm in the XY plane. The Y and the X are on the bottom here, which indicates that's the plane I'm looking into. Now I want to insert an SVG file, so I choose the Insert menu and I choose Insert SVG. And I'll point to this file that I just created, which is Keychain Rev 2. And here's my file. And you can see we have the two items here. So I'm going to choose, I'm going to see how this one works here. And if it doesn't work, then we will do it all over again. But I think it's going to work based on what I'm saying. So this is the model that I'm going to use, the graphic that I'm going to use. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I want to start drawing some reference points along here. So let's create another sketch. We can stop sketching, create another sketch. And I want to create a border around this. And I'm going to use a 2mm rectangle in construction mode. That's why over here in this sketch palette I chose construction. And we'll make that 2 by 2. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll right click, choose repeat. And we'll do 2 by 2. Okay, now the reason why I did construction, I'm going to turn that off, is so that I can draw a rectangle around that. So let's repeat. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see where I'm locking to. So I'm locking to that point. And then we will zoom in here and lock into this point. So now I have a rectangle around that entire object. And once again, I'm going to do a rectangle around here. And there we go. Now I have two rectangles. So I have a solid area here, and it's these areas here that I want to extrude. So I'm going to stop sketching so I can select, let's see, I need to select this sketch. Being rather difficult right now. When you hover the cursor over, you have to make sure it changes a slightly different color. You see all that flashing going on? And once it changes a slightly lighter color, then you know that that's the region that's going to be selected. And I'm holding the Shift key and left clicking in each of these areas to select that, because this is the region that I'm going to extrude. There we go. So now I'm going to extrude, and I want to extrude this 1mm upward. So now we have our model, and these all were extruded into separate bodies, and we'll combine them in a moment. But right now I'm going to turn off the bodies. I'll turn off that sketch. I'm only going to have this sketch on, and I want to select these two regions, and I want to extrude -3mm. And I'll show you why I want to do -3. And that just created my other body. So let's turn sketches off, and let's turn the body on. So when I first extruded all these letters, I extruded them up vertically 1mm. But then I selected the rectangles, the border rectangle and the inner rectangle. I selected the area within that, and I extruded downward, -3. And so what that did was that allowed me to create this surface. Now there's a couple things that I want to do to this, and it's to create fillets on the inside and the outside of this. But before I do that, I just noticed that if I do that, I'd have to select both at the same time, and I don't want to go through that effort. I really want this to be one body. So we will highlight all of that, and I highlighted it by clicking on the first one, holding shift, clicking on the last one, and then we'll choose modify, combine, and the join is selected there, and it combines it all into one body. So now I can hit the F key, and we're going to go 6.5, and same thing, F key, 6.5. So it's not perfect because the radius isn't at the same point. I would have to adjust that value, but it's something that I don't think anybody's really going to notice on the 3D printed version, 6.5. And I repeat again for this corner here, 6.5. F key, 6.5. F, 6.5. And then the same thing up here. So there we go. Now we have the model. Cool stuff. Let's save this. And we'll call this Smart Passive Income Keychain Rev 2. And now we will 3D print it. And this process, we do not send it to a utility, so we uncheck that. And we select the object. We press OK. And we will call this Rev 2. Version 1. And now we will go into our slicer, which I'm using the Prusa slicer that is made by Prusa Research. Prusa is the company who makes my 3D printer. You can use whatever slicer you want. Here's our keychain. It's rather large, so I'm going to reduce it instead of 33%, which I did. So now I'm going to reduce it on the XY plane. I am not going to reduce it on the Z plane because the Z plane is already 4 millimeters. So I don't want to reduce it any further. So I will reduce it. Let's do 60%. And we will reduce this along the y-axis, 60%. And let's see what our size is. So our size is approximately 3 inches by almost 2 inches. So let's reduce it a little bit more. Scale that along the x-axis. Let's go 80. And then we'll reduce it 80 on the y-axis. And we're 70 by, so we're less than 3 inches at this point. So 3 inches will be about that big. And now we can slice and inspect the layers. So let's look to see how it's coming out. Looks good. I'm satisfied with the slicer. But I forgot one thing. So now we have to go back into the model, and that's why I saved it as a Rev 1. And if this is going to be keychain, guess what we need? So let's turn this sketch back on, and we will edit this sketch. And we want our, actually no, you know what, we won't do that. We can do it right from here. So let's do a hole. I'm going to create a hole. And the cool thing about this is that we can draw this and move this anywhere. And we have a hole of 6 millimeters. Let's make it 8 millimeters. And I do want to move the hole. But it's already there. So let's undo that. Repeat hole. And we want to make this 8 millimeters. Okay, so it's 8 millimeters. And I just want it to look good where it's at. Not that you're going to really be able to tell. But I just want to be satisfied with it. Then I'll hit the OK button, and there we go. There's our hole. So now let's save this again. And this will be V2. And we can 3D print again. This will be Rev2 V2. This is why the Rev2 is an indication to me that it's a different file because I'm re-recording this video. The V number is the version of this file relative to the first version that was created of the file. Now I'm going to delete this from the slicer. Hit the delete key and we'll add this V2 file. And I think we will reduce this to, we will try 75 or 60. Let's try 60, scale on y-axis, 60. See what our size is. So let's reduce it again, scale. Let's reduce it by 80. We'll reduce this by 80. And then we will slice. Take a look at the layers. So there we go. We have plenty of room on the outside for strength. See, we look good there. We're plenty thick enough, and it doesn't have sharp edges to wear out a hole in the pocket, even though your keys typically have a sharp edge. So we already sliced. Let's export this file. Alright, so now we have this sliced file. Alright, so now we have the sliced file that is the Rev2 G code. And I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going to use that as this color print. So let's do we'll go to Prusa Printers Color Print. This is the address. The link will be in the description. I'm going to choose the file, Rev2 G code. I'm going to add a color change. And I'm going to choose the height of 3.2, and I'll show you why. So here's the layers. This is layer 3 up here. So there's layer 3, and there's 3.2. So it's 3.2 that I want the color change to occur at. That's why I added 3.2. I'm going to download this G code, and we're going to paste this one in. We'll rename it to color change. And then that way we know when we upload, it is the color change file. So let's upload Rev2 V2. Alright, so this measures approximately 3 inches by 1.5 inches. It's 3D printed with 2 types of filament. One is Sane Smart or Smart Buy green filament, and MatterHackers white filament. I really like the MatterHackers white because it it really pops. And there you go. So you can see we got the hole right here for going through a keychain. So I hope you liked this video. The instruction on how to create a vector in Adobe Illustrator and import it into Fusion 360 and create a model and do all the extrusions and adding fillets to make it smooth so it doesn't have really sharp edges. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, fine, give it a thumbs down. But if you do, all I ask is that you leave a comment why you may not have liked it. That way you can help me grow, because I'm still, even though this is video number 500 something, I still have a long ways to go to learn what I'm doing. Anyway, thanks for watching, and make sure you check out my other videos on 3D printing. You can find them in my 3D printing playlist, and I also do CNC work. So hit that like button, give me a subscribe. I'd really appreciate you hit the subscribe. And also, I'd like you to share this video out. Just put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook. Let people know that you found the video and you enjoyed watching it, or you found it informative. So again, thanks for watching. This has been John. When you do it, have a good night.